You ever wake up mad and don't even know why? Like, you check your phone and boom, you're furious before coffee. That's not an accident. You're being played. Anger is a business. Outrage is a product. And guess what? You're the customer. Every headline, every tweet, every viral post, designed to keep you pissed off, scrolling and engaged. They don't care if you're right or wrong. They care that you react. Because when you do, they win. Media companies, making billions, social media, harvesting. Your rage like a cash crop. Politicians, keeping you distracted while they do whatever they want. And here's the worst part. The more outraged we get, the less we actually do. Slavoj Žižek calls it passive indignation. We feel like we're fighting back, but really we're just clicking. So how deep does this manipulation go? And more importantly, how do you break free? Stick around. You're gonna want to. Hear this? Once you see how the game is rigged, you won't play it the same way again. The science of outrage. Why you are hooked. Your brain loves being mad. Not because it enjoys suffering, but because it thinks anger is useful. Thousands of years ago, anger helped us survive. It kept us alert, ready to fight or stand our ground. It was a reaction to real threats. Today, the threats are not saber-toothed tigers. They are headlines, tweets, and TV segments designed to make you feel like the world is constantly on fire. Your brain does not know the difference. It reacts the same way. Your heart pounds, your adrenaline spikes. You feel like you need to do something. But what, share a post, leave a comment, smash the angry react button? Social media companies know this, news outlets know this, and they use it against you. Studies show that content triggering outrage spreads faster than anything else. It is more addictive than joy, more engaging than sadness. The angrier you are, the longer you stay. The longer you stay, the more money they make. Your outrage is their business model, and they are cashing in. Media manipulation, turning outrage into profits. Once upon a time, news was about information. Now it is about engagement. There is a reason every headline screams at you like a carnival barker trying to sell tickets to the apocalypse. The more shocking, the better. The goal is not to inform. The goal is to make you feel something so strongly that you cannot look away. Slavoj Žižek calls this passive indignation. The system does not want you to act. It wants you to react. You feel like you are doing something by being outraged, but in reality, you are just feeding the machine. Your anger is turned into clicks, views, and endless online debates that lead nowhere. The more you fight, the more content gets pushed to you. You are not resisting, you are participating. Marshall McLuhan warned us decades ago that the medium is the message. In simple terms, the way information is delivered changes the way we think. Today we consume news in short bursts, rapid headlines, and algorithm-driven feeds. Everything is designed to be fast, emotional, and reactionary. No room for deep thought. Just instant outrage. Hannah Arendt took it even further. She warned that when people are bombarded with conflicting, emotionally charged narratives, they stop believing in objective truth. When that happens, people do not just become easier to manipulate. They become exhausted. The goal is not to convince you of one side or the other. The goal is to make you so overwhelmed that you give up on truth altogether. And when that happens, power wins. This is not a conspiracy. It is business. Studies show that people are more likely to share content that makes them angry. News outlets have adapted. Social media has amplified it. The angrier the headline, the more clicks it gets. The more clicks, the more money. It is that simple. Think about it. When was the last time you saw a headline that said, "Everything is mostly fine, do not worry"? Never, because that does not sell. But "They are coming for your rights," or "The end of democracy," or "This new policy will destroy everything." Those will spread like wildfire, and here is the best part. None of it has to be true. It just has to feel true enough to make you react before you think. By the time the facts come out, the outrage machine has already moved on. They do not need to convince you. They just need to keep you mad. Because as long as you are mad, you are paying attention. And as long as you are paying attention, they are making money. The algorithmic trap. How social media profits from your rage. You ever notice how the most infuriating posts are the ones that show up first? That is not a coincidence. Social media platforms do not just reflect our emotions, they shape them. They decide what we see, what we engage with, and what we get mad about. McLuhan told us that the way we consume media changes the way we think, and in the age of algorithms, the way we think is being reprogrammed. These platforms are not neutral. They are designed to push the most emotionally charged content to the top because that is what keeps us scrolling. A study from MIT found that false information spreads 6 times faster than the truth. Why? Because lies are optimized for engagement. They are crafted to be shocking, infuriating, and impossible to ignore. Truth is boring, but outrage? Outrage spreads like wildfire. Slavoj Žižek calls this the illusion of participation. You feel like you are engaged with the world because you are constantly reacting to it. But what are you actually doing? You are liking, you are sharing, you are arguing, but you are not acting. You are stuck in a loop, feeding the machine while the real world remains unchanged. Hannah Arendt warned that when people are constantly bombarded with conflicting narratives, they become too exhausted to seek the truth. This is the real goal of the algorithm, not to inform you, not to empower you, but to keep you locked in an endless cycle of emotional highs and lows. When you are overwhelmed, you stop thinking critically. You stop questioning the system. You just react. And that reaction is worth billions. Every time you argue with someone in the comments, every time you rage tweet about a headline you did not even read, every time you get sucked into a pointless debate, you are making someone rich. The more divided we are, the more engaged we stay. The more engaged we stay, the more data they collect. The more data they collect, the better they can manipulate us. You are not the customer. You are the product. And your outrage is what keeps the factory running. Political weaponization. Divide and distract. You ever wonder why every issue turns into a war? Why everything, no matter how small, becomes a battlefield? It is not just because people disagree. It is because outrage is a tool. And the people in power know exactly how to use it. Politicians do not need to solve problems. They just need to keep you angry at the right things. The more you are fighting with your neighbor, the less you are paying attention to the people actually pulling the strings. It is classic misdirection. Keep the public distracted, keep them divided, keep them so emotionally exhausted that they stop questioning the system. Slavoj Žižek calls this ideological theater. You feel like you are engaged in the struggle. You pick a side, you defend it, you fight against the enemy. But nothing ever changes, because the game is rigged, the outrage is manufactured, and the real decisions are being made behind closed doors while you are too busy arguing on Facebook. Hannah Arendt saw this playbook long before social media. She warned that when politics becomes nothing but a series of emotionally charged spectacles, people lose faith in truth itself. Once that happens, it does not matter what is real. It only matters what feels real. And when people cannot agree on basic facts, those in power can do whatever they want. McLuhan would say this is not about what is being said, it is about how it is being delivered. Politicians do not need good ideas, they just need viral moments. They need the clips, the sound bites, the rage-inducing tweets. It is not about governance, it is about engagement. And engagement is fueled by division. Look around. Every election is the most important one in history. Every policy is a life or death crisis. Every issue is framed as an existential threat. Why? Because when people are scared, they do not think, they react. They vote with their emotions. They fall into tribalism. They pick a side and defend it blindly, even when it goes against their own interests. And the best part? None of the people in charge actually care. They go to the same fundraisers. They take money from the same lobbyists. They play golf together while their supporters tear each other apart online. The outrage is for us. The unity is for them. So what happens when you stop playing along? What happens when you see the pattern for what it is? That is the real question. Because the second you stop reacting, the second you start thinking for yourself, the whole game falls apart. The psychology of outrage. Why you keep falling for it. You ever get mad at something, then forget about it a day later? Ever feel exhausted by the endless cycle of scandals, debates, and viral fights? That is not a flaw in the system. That is the system. The German philosopher Friedrich Nietzsche saw this coming over a century ago. He warned that people trapped in a constant state of moral outrage lose their ability to think critically. Instead of searching for truth, they chase enemies. Instead of solving problems, they look for someone to blame. Outrage becomes a habit, a drug, a replacement for action. Psychologists call this moral licensing. The more you express outrage, the more you feel like you have done something meaningful, even when you have done nothing at all. You share a post, you write an angry comment, you dunk on someone in a debate. Your brain rewards you. It feels like progress. But what has actually changed? Nothing. And that is exactly how they want it. French sociologist Jacques Ellul took it even further. He argued that modern propaganda does not aim to make you believe a single truth. Its goal is to keep you drowning in so much information, so many conflicting narratives, that you become disoriented. You do not know what is real anymore, so you fall back on emotion. You trust what feels true. And the best way to manipulate people's emotions is through anger. Neuroscientist Robert Sapolsky explains why. Anger is a survival response. It triggers the brain's fight-or-flight system. When you are outraged, your body floods with stress hormones. Your thinking shifts from logic to instinct. You stop questioning, you stop analyzing, you just react. And reaction is exactly what the system is built for. Think about it. When was the last time you saw a calm, measured, nuanced discussion go viral? It does not happen. It is not designed to happen. Social media, news networks, politicians, they all need you emotional. They need you too angry to think clearly. Because the second you slow down, the second you start asking real questions, the illusion falls apart. So here is the real question. What happens when you step back? What happens when you stop letting them control what makes you mad? What happens when you decide that your outrage is yours, not theirs? That is when things get interesting. Breaking free, how to take back your mind. You ever try to argue with someone online and realize halfway through that nothing you say will change their mind? That is not because they are stupid. It is because they are trapped. And so are you. Cognitive. Scientist Daniel Kahneman explains why. He calls it fast thinking. When you are emotional, your brain defaults to quick, instinctive reactions. You do not stop to analyze. You do not weigh the facts. You defend your position like your life depends on it. The problem is, the more you argue, the deeper you get stuck in the loop. The outrage cycle feeds itself, and every click, every comment, every heated debate makes the system stronger. Philosopher Michel Foucault had a name for this. He called it biopower. It is not just about controlling what you do. It is about controlling how you think, how you feel, what you believe is worth fighting for. When you are stuck in a constant state of reaction, you are not acting. You are being acted upon. So how do you break out? How do you take back control? It starts with awareness. You have to recognize when you are being manipulated. The next time a headline makes your blood pressure spike, ask yourself, who benefits from my outrage? Who profits if I react? Who wants me to be angry right now? Philosopher Jiddu Krishnamurti once said, "To understand yourself is the beginning of wisdom." When you learn to observe your own reactions, when you learn to pause before you engage, you become harder to control. You stop being a pawn in someone else's game. That does not mean ignoring injustice. It does not mean being passive. It means choosing where to direct your energy. It means focusing on what actually matters, not what the algorithm wants you to care about. Because the second you stop reacting on autopilot, the second you start thinking for yourself, you become dangerous. And that is the one thing they do not want. This whole system is built to keep you emotionally exhausted, constantly fighting battles that do not matter, while the real problems remain untouched. Your anger is a product. Your attention is the currency. And the people running the show, they are cashing in. But here is the secret they do not want you to know. The second you stop playing their game, they lose. You do not have to react to every headline. You do not have to fight every online battle. You do not have to let them decide what deserves your energy. Because once you realize that outrage is just another form of control, you can start choosing where your attention goes. That is real power. Not screaming into the void, not feeding the machine, but stepping back, thinking for yourself and deciding what actually matters. So here is your challenge. The next time you feel that spike of anger, stop. Ask yourself, who benefits if I react? Who profits if I stay mad? And most importantly, do I actually care, or was I told that I should? Because the second you start asking those questions, you are no longer just another pawn in their game. You are the one flipping the board. If this hit home, if you see the pattern, do something different. Drop a comment. Share this with someone who needs to hear it. Subscribe if you want more content that actually makes you think. Or don't. That choice is yours. And that is the point.